Hello everyone and welcome to another video here from the Couch Bros. It is Christian talking about and I'm joined by my buddy Jonathan. Welcome. Thank you for joining me. I have a huge football fanatic join me and we're going to be talking about the Euros today, talking about the squad Mancini has brought to him and what we think can take in. So at least I have someone from a neutral perspective as well to, not be as biased. So thanks, Jonathan, for joining me and talking about Italy and the players from Serie A participating at the Euros.
Hi there, hi guys, hi. Thank you very much for the warming welcome, and I'll do my best to not screw things up here with my lessons so far.
So, like I said, we're going to talk about the Italy squad that Mancini has brought, what we think of the squad, and again, like I said, I'll have not as a biased opinion from Jonathan as well. How far we expect to that we can probably see Mancini take them, and then we're going to probably also talk about the list of foreign players from Serie A and or just Italy in general, because there's actually a few from Serie B I noticed as well that are participating at the Euros. So we're just going to talk a little bit about them, but let's talk about the team that Mancini has taken, considering, because I don't know if you knew this too, Jonathan, it's also Italy's first major tournament in almost 5 years, because again, we missed out on World Cup 2018. It would have been 4 years, but again, with the COVID pandemic, we had to postpone Euros. So, anyways, let's get on to the squad. So I'll list them. I'll list all the players first. Then we'll go into a little more detail, unless you want to talk about every position first. Up to you.
You're the host, you're the host.
All
I'm just gonna follow.
right. So let's start off with the squad that Roberto Mancini has brought in. So goalkeepers are Donnarumma, Meret, and Sirigu. The defenders are Di Lorenzo, Chiellini, Spinazzola, Emerson, Acerbi, Bonucci, Bastoni, Florenzi, and Toloi. Midfielders Locatelli, Verratti, Pellegrini, Jorginho, Cristante, Barella, and Pessina, who is called up for Sensi after he has been injured. Poor Sensi, constantly made of glass, being injured all the time. The forwards coming in are Belotti, Immobile, Insigne, Berardi, Chiesa, Bernardeschi, and surprise Raspadori. Yeah, Raspadori was one of the huge inclusions, surprising that took everyone by surprise. But we'll start off from the goalkeeper's perspective. Donnarumma, we expect to be the starting goalkeeper. There's no denying that at all. Like you could see, but I don't know if you've kept in touch of what's going on with his contract situation and him being left or being let go by Milan. Do you think that would put a psychological, thing on him during the tournament, or do you think he'll be just fine knowing that he'll be a free agent in the midst of the tournament?
He's been a solid player since he debuted, and he was like under 20 years old of age. So I don't think that won't be a problem at all. He's already very seasoned. He's like, how could I say, like a goalkeeper version of the lit, but better. Okay, so they're very young. They're already used to the pressure of playing under like extreme circumstances. Even when he was one of the biggest, even the biggest name of Milan when things weren't that well back a couple of seasons ago. Now things are getting to look a little bit brighter. But no, he's not gonna feel anything. He's cold as ice.
And we want that. Like we don't want him to be distracted, especially like he's known as one of the best young shot stoppers in the game. So, and especially the way Italy's been playing, you want him to be at the top of the game. Because yes, Moret's a good backup. No denying that. But Moret to Donnarumma, like
I even prefer Sirigu, to be quite honest.
the
I really
thing.
like Sirigu.
The thing with Sirigu is like yes, he's a very veteran keeper, but he's had a very poor last couple of seasons with Torino, and they brought him for the experience, right? And I honestly feel Cranio would have probably made a better option, but I feel Mancini just went with the experience in Sirigu to guide the young two keepers. But especially coming off last two not as good seasons, do you think that is a good option just to bring in for the experience? But
I well, I don't know if I'm being a little bit too risky, but let's say like knock on wood, something happens to Donnarumma, I would go for Sirigu, period.
That's definitely an interesting thought there. So,
And
uh,
just rectify something, or at least give my opinion regarding one thing that you said. You said that Donnarumma is one of the biggest or better young stoppers in the game. He's one of the top 10 best goalies in the world. Period. You
mhm.
don't have that many better goalkeepers than him. Like you're gonna have like the two from Brazil, Alisson and
Ederson.
Alisson. Not trying to be biased here, it's just what it is. Uh, Oblak, Courtois maybe. Who else? Neuer. Chesney is playing very well too, but Ter Stegen if he's not injured, so like he's definitely among, in my opinion, like among top 7, top 8. So
Hmm.
he doesn't he's not under he's not behind. He's a top player. Period.
Yeah, and we want him just to keep going what he's doing, continuing his form, and hopefully keep up the goals and help Italy win, right? So we'll see what they do. Going on to the defenders, like I said, just to relist them: Di Lorenzo, Chiellini, Spinazzola, Emerson, Acerbi, Bonucci, Bastoni, Florenzi, and Toloi. So it's not, honestly, not a bad set of defenders, and it's easy for Mancini to switch from a back three to a back four, because he has the wing backs. He has Di Lorenzo, Spinazzola, Emerson, and Florenzi, who are all wing backs. Spinazzola can switch between the right and the left, and it gives him versatility at the back as well. And you do have the experience of Bonucci and Chiellini. Chiellini will definitely start more, I feel, because Bonucci again he's just been inconsistent. But I feel like Cherby is well set. Bastoni, a great young defender who's a great option at the back to partner with Chiellini. I honestly feel it's a strong defense going into the tournament. So,
I think you're saying it's a good defense is an understatement. To be quite honest, okay. So just like a little bit of stats and facts here. Last 10 matches, 7 wins, 3 draws, and 0 losses. 26 goals scored and 7 goals conceded. You have a very, very strong defense on which, if you get the numbers, Spinazzola and Florenzi, they don't go too much too over. They don't attack that much, but they help the defense system to become concise and cohesive.
mm-hmm.
So the midfielder situation of Italy, which is extremely talented and technical, because they mix up like technical and more of a paced players like Jorginho, but you also have players like Locatelli and oh my gosh, who's the name of the guy? The Barella, that's playing very well at Inter.
Mm-hmm.
I think they collocate very well together. So and since they go back and forth as well because they're younger, and Jorginho makes this connection between starting the game from the back
And building it
to
up from the
build up
yeah.
and nurture the forward players to do what they can do. To be honest, I know we're still going to talk about Mancini, but I think he's being like basically like reinventing himself.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, it's different. Yeah, Mancini's coached so many clubs before, but it's different when you're constantly because you have it's so much to prepare for more. Yes, you're playing every week for club games, but with Mancini, you have games every 2-3 months, and your players. Yes, you have the main kind of core, but you're constantly changing players on the go. Tournaments, the best teams we've seen have struggled and not even gonna come out of a group stage. There's so much more to prepare for in these type of tournaments with national teams, and he's definitely reinventing the way he's coaching this team, especially with the type of players that are coming out nowadays, and the way Italy has grown from always constantly defending to now being able to score. Like
Exactly,
that,
exactly,
he's definitely
exactly.
changing the way Italy's
I
approach is.
I I I think like for me like I never liked Mancini. Okay, I think he was a very like 101. Like those kind of like a how to be a coach for dummies. That was his level. I never liked him. Okay, I never thought he was like, oh my gosh, he's an amazing. No, you have so many better coaches, or at least like supposedly better coaches than him in Italy. You have Allegri, you have Sarri, you have Conti, you have a lot of like you have Ancelotti, which like he's a monster, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just to say, four that for me it's better than him, are better than him. But the thing is, he was able to structure a very good defensive system and to merge the tactics with these players. They are very like, you're gonna have players who are technical and fast at the same time and know how to score. So if you get the heat map of the team, especially the midfielders up, you see that they are always going back and forth, going back and forth. And since they're a little bit quicker, and you have Jorginho, who's very good at starting the game, like
Mm-hmm.
starting the construction of a play or something, it's easier for them to exchange passes and plays, because the three players in front of the team as well, I know I'm a little bit ahead of the game, they score a lot, but they also assist a lot of goals, right? So everybody constructs, everybody do something.
And that's the thing, Mancini. It's not that there's, I guess, in a way, there's some pressure on Mancini, especially after taking over after the disappointment that we had with Ventura. You know, he had to really establish the new Italy identity and being able to make sure we qualify now for every major tournament. So that's the thing. He's really structured himself well, and being able to come off such a huge disappointment, he's really changed the way Italy is. And mostly we'll call up players who deserve it, will make the right tactical changes, will know who to put on, will know who to bring in, rather than, you need a goal, and instead of bringing on an attacking player, you want to bring on De Rossi, who's a holding type of player. That's the difference between Ventura and Mancini, being able to know what you have to do in order to win and who you have to bring to the team to bring whatever quality that they need.
And if you actually see, uh, one thing that I really liked as well is that you don't have, even though Immobile doesn't move too much, right? His heat map is very very short. He's just on some spots in the game. You don't have a number nine, right? You
Yeah.
don't you don't have you don't have a Moise King. You don't have a Keon. I don't know.
Keen, yes.
King, right? You don't have a Balotelli. You have a team that do things together, right?
Mm-hmm.
If Immobile is not in a good day, Insane is gonna come and do something. Or you have Barella, and you have Berardi. And I don't know, like 2 seasons ago, you would never think they would have so many attack mentality players,
Mm-hmm.
attacking mentality players merged on a starting 11. You know, I
Yeah.
think that's a huge difference.
And that's the thing, and especially like we were talking about the midfield, it's like how they work so hard, and especially like the starting three. If we were saying if we're going to be playing with four, like a 4-3-3 or whatever, which is
Yeah.
give or taking the most common Italy formation Mancini has been using, of Verratti, Jorginho, and Barella. That again is the workhorse. You have Jorginho setting everything up, Verratti winning the ball, and Verratti and Barella winning the balls in the key midfield and setting up. Barella knows how to attack as well. So you have the players setting up, winning the ball. Each one has their tasks and their jobs to help create in that midfield. You have your wing backs, like we said, with Florenzi or Spinazzola, who will most likely be the starters, helping set them up. We have can set up the wingers if they're Chiesa, Insigne, whoever. That midfield's going to be the core. And yes, even if one of them gets injured, for example, I do feel a good backup option for that mid is Locatelli, and he's really grown with Sassuolo,
Exactly.
who's that
Yes.
good fourth option. But then you keep going down, it's going to be tougher after, because Pellegrini will still be a good option too. But then you don't want to get to the point where you want to put on, like, I'm not saying anything bad, but Cristante is not the top guy you want starting in that Italy squad. I do feel bad for Sensi. He came off a good year, but he's constantly injured, and that's the thing. As much as he deserved a spot at this Euros, it's the injury worry for him, and we just saw he got excluded now. And Pessina, who also did have a great year with Atalanta, did deserve a spot as well. So we'll see who Mancini will do when it comes to the substitution time. Who in that midfield will be coming in for the main three, right?
What I think of when you're talking about Locatelli, uh, I see something similar happening to the Brazilian national team when you play with Casemiro and Fred.
Mm.
Like we played last Thursday or Friday, I forgot when it was. We won Ecuador 2-0, but the team was very boxed in. You had two defensive midfielders, even though Casemiro is very good at creating plays too. But when they sacked who left Fred and they put Gabriel Jesus to play, they opened the game because Paquetá was able to create more, and
Hmm.
Casemiro was starting the game right from the back. For me, it's the same thing here. There's no need to have Jorginho and Verratti play at the same time.
But that's the thing. It's like they're going to be the main
Okay,
three because they
I
have that
wouldn't
great.
start. I wouldn't start with Verratti and Jorginho. Verratti is coming back from an injury, right? And Jorginho has been played beautifully this season. So I
Hmm.
would start with Jorginho and Locatelli because Locatelli he can uh, because uh, because Spinazzola doesn't go. He does go a lot to the left side. He attacks a lot. He even like goes into the goalie's
Area.
area. Locatelli can feed him with a lot of passes,
Hmm.
and I like that. And Locatelli he covers like 2/3 of the
The pit.
intersection between the two fields, and Jorginho is also always there to exchange passes,
Yeah.
And I feel like Verratti and Jorginho at the same time would be too much of like okay brain players who stop the ball too much. You
Mm.
just need one of those. You don't need that much.
Yeah, one guy to kind of win the ball, start the play, and the other to kind of
Exactly.
carry the play up the field, kind of thing.
Yes. Exactly.
And that's what we go. We'll see. Mancini could always change things up depending on how the first game goes. As Italy, we know, are opening up the Euros. Um, we'll talk more about the group as well. But I think the first game will kind of shape that up a bit, and maybe next game he'll maybe change one thing. It depends even how the first game goes. He may make that change as well, because it also depends on how the front three work as well. So going on to even the forwards, Belotti, Immobile, Insigne, Berardi, Chiesa, Bernardeschi, Raspadori. There's a good set of wingers there, some good strikers in there. The one thing Italy has to hope for is Immobile being consistent with the national team. He's very consistent with Lazio, but with the national team, he'll score 1 or 2 games, but then go on like a game drought with the Azzurri. So that's the one thing is that we have to hope the Lazio Immobile shows up to those tournaments, and hopefully with the link up he's doing with Insigne, Berardi, Chiesa, because the front three is honestly on paper like it is ridiculous depending on
Yes.
who's like the front. Insigne, Immobile, and Chiesa will most likely be the starters. Considering Chiesa the breakouts not really a breakout season, but how well Chiesa played in that Juventus team that struggled this
Yes.
year, like
He destroyed.
if they really combine well, we will see goals. But we have to hope that Immobile can carry his club form into the national team.
I don't know. I don't know if I would be too crazy to say this, but let's say that Immobile unfortunately doesn't show up, right? What I would do, I would maybe try to play like as a false nine. I would put Insigne in the
In the middle?
as, no as a CF as a center
Hmm.
forward, sacking Immobile and putting Chiesa on the left.
And then adding Berardi on or Bernardeschi on the right.
Exactly, exactly. Berardi is already there because, like by the heat map that he has here, he go. That's something else as well. The beauty of it, the on this 4-3-3 formation because you have fast players, Berardi and Insigne. We were talking about defense. Sorry, we're going back to defense. But if you see the heat map of these guys, they're always doing this, right?
Hmm.
So the defense is never like they're
Short-ended.
never short-handed or in a difficult situation. And even if they are, you have Bonucci, you have Chiellini, you have Donnarumma. So, uh, but going back to the attack situation, I really feel like if this team they have this versatility on which you can create, you can destroy, you can attack, and if depending on the situation that you're playing and or who you're playing against. For instance, if you play I don't know against Turkey, which has a very tough defense system,
Hmm.
you can put these guys behind. You can if you want you can bring one of these 4-3-3 guys back a little bit, and you win a little bit of space with four players in the midfield, and the other ones acting as wingers to to bring the defense and open the defense so someone like Jorginho can find a pass like the finals in the Champions League, right?
Hmm.
The way the Mount did with
Yeah.
Havertz to open a space and boom.
And we'll see that a lot. And even kind of going back to the players that we have, I just want to list a couple names that were excluded from Mancini's final team. Originally, again, Pessina was excluded but brought in after Sensi's injury. Some other notable names that were omitted were Calabria, which I feel kind of deserved a shot considering the season he had with Milan. But I feel at the end of the season he did have surgery, so that kind of ruled him out a little bit because you don't want to bring a player that's recovered from injury to the tournament. Mancini from Roma, Cragno as the third keeper, Moise Kean, who is probably Italy's truest number 9 at the moment, who would have been a good option. Not instead of instead of Raspadori at the same time, because Raspadori still has a lot to prove. While Kean has played for Juventus, he's played for PSG and had a really great season too. And then Politano, who had the surprise exclusion instead of Bernardeschi. But Bernardeschi, he hasn't played that well with Juve, but with Italy, he's that versatile player who's just a utility guy. And that's the thing. It's like, do you want that utility guy just being able to play wherever, or do you want that known creator who can score, set up? Like it's that different. And I know every coach has that one player they kind of rely on. Like going back to Antonio Conte's Italy team, he had Giaccherini and turned him into like one of the best players on the team.
Yeah.
And he somehow got the best out of Eder and Graziano Pelle back at Euro 2016 as well. So it's surprising that, again, even we'll go back to Thiago Motta as well. Conte got the best out of Thiago Motta somehow as well. Like, I'm not saying Thiago Motta was a terrible player, but he got the most out of it, especially later on in his career.
Yeah.
Every coach somehow finds the best out of these uh, weaker kind of players. So I guess Bernardeschi's that guy who just fits in well with Mancini's team compared to Politano, and Politano had a great year with Napoli.
Maybe going back to I don't know much about Politano, but going back to Keane, he didn't have a great season. Sometimes he wouldn't be benched for Icardi because Pochettino would even choose starting with Mbappe, Di Maria, and Neymar. They wouldn't even have like a CF, right? It
Mm-hmm.
would be both Icardi and Keane would be bench. I think that on this case, the way the team plays, they don't need
That
number 9, right? That's how the game. The same way as Manchester City, you have like the number 9s are on bench. Jesus is on bench. Aguero said bye bye now, right? So sometimes the CF would be De Bruyne, which
mm-hmm.
is like it worked. It didn't work on the
But it
final
works for them
January.
usually,
So
yeah.
yeah, so and Bernardeschi, he's versatile. He can play. If you get the heat map from him, it's just 3 stripes on the left and on the right. So he can. If someone is not playing properly or someone got injured, you can put him anywhere. And there is also a comparison that I like to do. A player from my team from Flamengo. I'm a no one knows this, but I'm from Brazil. I'm from Flamengo and Chelsea fan, right? Everton Ribeiro. He hasn't been played very well for the last, I don't know, half a season because of the new tactics that our coach presented to the team. But whenever he goes to the national team,
It just fits
the co-
perfectly.
exactly, he might not necessarily be at the starting 11, but he's the very reliable tool and asset. So
Mm-hmm.
the same thing I can see with Bernardeschi here. If Mancini knows that he can count on the guy, he's gonna put him in the game.
So we'll see. It depends. And again, like even going back to Raspadori, I just want to make that comparison with Keane. The thing with Keane is that he was able to play. He managed to score, I think it was like 12, 13 goals, something. Raspadori kind of broke out this year. He didn't score as many, but he did make a presence with Sassuolo and almost got them into Europe as well. But would you want to take the experience? Keane, who's been playing for a few years now, kind of is not as seasoned, but he's had a few seasons at top level. While Raspberry kind of has that break in where he would have fit more with the under 21. Would you have gone with Keane or would you have gone with the young gun in Raspadori?
Based on what I've seen regarding the philosophy of Mancini, you already have City there to do what you want to do regarding experience. You have this experience in the defense. You have the experiences in the offense as well. Immobile is he's a very good player. He's above the average for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So you can bring this kind of new fresh air situation going on. You see Sassuolo players. When would you see Sassuolo players on the starting 11 for the national team? Never, right? Like less than 10 years ago, our beautiful like the magical midfield section of Italy would be Gattuso, De Rossi,
Pirlo.
and Pirlo, right? So today is a different game, it's a complete different game. You need players who are there, and sometimes they're gonna sacrifice their own individual attributes to play for the game. Again, another comparison: Gabriel Jesus. He didn't score a single goal for the last for Brazil on the last World Cup, but tactically speaking, he had a role. Giroud, same thing. He didn't score a single goal, right? But he was world champion. Uh, so these things they count a lot. Okay, so he played for Juve, he played for Everton, he played for huge teams, but he doesn't fit as well that much. And maybe it's better because didn't have a good season, and maybe it's better for you to bring a new player right now to start maybe shaping it up for
Hmm.
next
The one thing too with this team is that, yeah, we going back kind of the experience. We have had players again, um, Bonucci, Chiellini, who am I even for Bonucci,
Insigne.
Chiellini, Insigne, Immobile. There are these players, or not. I don't even go. I think I can. I'm just trying to. I can't even remember the squad from 2016 because it's been so long. But um, a lot of these players, it's their first major tournament. So now that we finally made a major tournament, it's like there's a lot of not in some ways expectations, again, considering we're one of the most informed teams going into the tournament. It's how will these young guys kind of prepare going into their first major tournament. And that's where, again, we're going to rely on the Bonucci, the Chiellini, the Sirigu, Immobile, those kind of experienced players to help guide them to, yes, some of them have played in like the Champions League, the Europa League, but it's not the same compared to when you're playing with your national team and where all the best players come together to play for their national. You're playing against the Germanys, the Spains, the France, like it's going to be a different kind of thing. And yes, we've seen Italy beat Belgium and Spain the last time around, but 5 years ago, those teams are different than what they are today. They have their own batch of young kids who are coming in and playing exceptionally well. So let's see how these kind of kids can learn from the experienced guys going into the tournament.
I don't want to be unbiased or trying to kiss the host's butt, but I really think that these guys can win this thing. Just saying, I don't think they are the favorites, but they're among the top four to win
I
the
think the odds, the best odds I just saw recently are England to win it at 5-1. They have but I think Italy's odds are 12 or 13-1 or something like that to win it.
and that's the thing. Like based on what you just said about like mixing up experience with new players, if you actually pay attention, every single huge, maybe with the exception of France, every single huge national team right now, they are renovating their squad.
Mm-hmm.
This started happening with Southgate in England like 4 years ago already. In Spain, you have to, I doubt that if you go to Spain right now and see their whole roster, you're gonna know every single player that's there. You won't.
And the thing too is we've even seen from Germany, considering they had the disappointment at the last World Cup. They had a disappointing Nations League too, so like they're trying to reinvent themselves too. Because we've kind of noticed with world champions, they kind of have that dip right after they kind of win a major trophy. But we'll see how France is still looking strong after winning the World Cup in 2018. So let's see how they do carrying in most of the same. They kind of have most of the same players with the odd exception here and there, but it's going to be tough because eventually Italy will have to play a lot of these top guys, and we'll even talk about their group with Turkey, Wales, and Switzerland. It's not like it's not an easy group, but it's not a hard group. It's a good test for a lot of these players to kind of come together and have what it takes to beat. Because if they can beat, they kind of get the experience they need going into the later stages of the group.
I think that it's a good, like if I had to rate a group from 0 to 10 or 1 to 10, I would say a 6 when it comes to difficulty. Um, Switzerland and Wales have seen better days, right? Especially Switzerland with their defensive system. They're still good. Don't get me wrong, but they are not as that.
as good as they used to be.
as that, like I would say, almost like a safe to vault from a bank kind of situation. You know, they're not that secure anymore. Uh, but let's go. You start, and I'll mention. I'll comment on some stuff.
Uh, we'll go because honestly, the toughest opposition Italy will probably play will be Turkey in that opening game. You know, they want to set the tone going into the group, and they don't want to finish top of the group, get the better seeding going into it. But I do feel Italy has a good chance of topping the group as well. It'll be a good test, like I said, and we should have. I don't want to say an easy time, but we should have some good games going into this and have the kids kind of learn and the rest of the team learn, especially having their first major tournament going into the next round. I do feel Italy. Again, I don't want to go with my heart. It's hard to say because you know you're going with your heart and your head. I want Italy to win. They do look like a good chance of winning it, but I feel they're going to be the dark horse of the tournament, especially with the mix of experience and young people they have going into it. They again, like you said, they won't have. They're not expected to win, but I feel they're going to be that dark horse, kind of getting in there, getting in those other teams' ways.
I think that if we actually pay attention to what has happened to Italy for the last, I don't know, 2 to 3 years, let's say 2000, after the World Cup, after the renovation started, you cannot call Italy a dark horse, right? If you pay attention to what these guys have been doing,
Mm-hmm.
like to even before these last 10 matches, you guys were what, like 20 something matches
We're
undefeated.
28 matches unbeaten going into the tournament. So, like I said, we are the
Oh, yeah.
most informed team going into the tournament. But
These things have to be counted. Like this is not an accident, right? Something is going on, and you're gonna be against a team that over the last 10 matches they conceded 15 goals, right?
mm-hmm.
So they're not defensively uh, cohesive right now. You have three players there that you have to pay attention to, because if Çalhanoğlu finds a good pass for Yumaz or Yazigi, it will be a problem, right? These
Mm-hmm.
guys, they're fresh, they're at the top of the game. Even though Yumaz is like 35 years old, he just won Lily,
Yeah,
he just won the friend. They're the French champions. They left PSG behind, so these guys want to prove themselves now on a continental level, right?
yeah,
Because come on, they're not gonna they're not gonna be the winners of Champions League, but like they can do something
exactly.
on
And I know, yeah, I know what you're saying. We got taken to the forum. I just feel again, especially for a lot of these players having their first major tournament, it's going to be a lot of different expectations going in. So it's tough because sometimes that experience does kind of help, and a difference having tournaments every 2 years, kind of thing. World Cup, Euro, World Cup. I know you're always qualifying, but it's just kind of having that, especially missing out for something for almost 5 years. It's different for some of these guys, if you know what I'm saying.
yeah, no, I agree with you, but I really think that I think, like, personally speaking, that this is going to be a situation in which, let's say, this game, okay, the players will feel, especially the younger ones, they're going to feel nervous for the first 10 minutes, and after warm up, your stage fright is gone.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And they're going to perform what they and how they want to and how they know to do.
Yeah, we'll see. It's definitely going to be some interesting games and how Mancini prepares for his team. Like I said, he could keep the same 11 in all three games, barring injuries and suspensions, or he may change it after, depending what he sees in the first game against Turkey. We'll see how long, see what he does going into this team. Uh, how far? Again, and you're on. Like I know you said you can win, but I feel they can go at least. I wanted to see them in the finals, but I feel they can go as far as the semis for sure. I feel they can go as far as there. But my heart's in. I want them to go to the finals, but I feel they have that squad to at least reach the semifinals because then the semifinals after that is kind of like open.
I think the only team that is ahead of the game when it comes ahead of you guys when it comes to the the cycle that they're leaving is France, because they were runner ups on 2016. They're the current world champions, and these guys, they basically have three players for each position.
Exactly.
If you want,
Their depth chart is absolutely
it's
ridiculous.
ridiculous. Yes, so they are ahead, but Germany and Spain are in the middle of a transition, and England, even though they have extremely talented and skilled players, sometimes
They
they're a
choke.
little bit unstable. You know,
They
they're gonna perform beautifully in one game, and the other one they're gonna be like 0-0-0, 1-0. Like,
the,
what's going on?
they're the team that everyone expects them because it's always like, oh, it's coming home, it's coming home. But they somehow always, what was it? It wasn't the Euros. Maybe it was the Euros against Iceland. They ended up losing that game, right? There's always the pressure on England, and they get close, or even against Croatia. And this was it the semifinals, I think, or round of 16 where they lost to Croatia as well. You know, there's the expectations where they expect to beat someone, but then something happens, they end up losing it, right?
And
So
that you know, a team that for me is a dark horse
Belgium,
right now. Exactly.
they're the
Because
team.
they're not at the top of the game right now. Hazard is not at the top of this game. We still have to know what's going to happen with De Bruyne,
Mhm.
right? They are the dark horse
and
because they can still provide something. They can still deliver. But I don't know what's going to happen.
and they've been ranked first in FIFA. I mean, we can't even judge by FIFA rankings because those things are always up. Like like
It's kind of weird, yeah. They
I
don't win anything, but they're in first place.
exactly. And somehow Italy's again the most informed team, but they're like what 7, 8, something. They're lower in the top 10.
You guys, yeah, but you guys didn't even play the last World Cup.
That's the thing, but the FIFA rankings change quite often. But you don't want to be based on form. Like, I don't know. We
Yeah,
topped we
they go
topped our
forward
group.
like over like a lot of years, right? Like 5 or 6 years, something like that, based on like, for instance, the ranking system for UEFA for the teams. They consider the last 5 seasons. That's
Hmm.
why, for instance, Spain's still number one, right? Because
Yeah.
Madrid won a lot of times, so they ranked up pretty well. Then it's England, even though we know the Premier League is way better than La
Hmm.
Liga.
So we'll see. It definitely, like I said, Italy definitely has a good chance of progressing, playing well, and I feel as each match goes on, the players will feel more comfortable with each other in that setting, and we can really expect a lot from Italy. So, where do you guys see? Comment below. Let us know where you guys think Italy will. Do you agree with us? How far can they win it, or anything can happen.
And how much jibber jabber are we talking here right now? You can also comment that.
So, anyways, we'll move on to something a little different now. We're gonna, like I said earlier, we're gonna talk about the players from Serie A or Italy in general, because, like I said, there's a couple of Serie B players representing some of the smaller nations at the league. So, there's honestly, from what I counted, there's a lot of players from Italy being represented at the tournament. There's about 52, 53, something like that. And there are two teams, national teams, that have the most players represented from Italy. So Poland and Denmark with 7 players. So the players from Poland, Szczesny, Skorupski, Dawidowicz, Glick, Berenzynski, Linetti, and Zielinski. So definitely some top names there. Most of them definitely starters. Zielinski had a great year. Szczesny had an okay year with the Juve, but that's the whole team trying to come together. Glick didn't have the best years with Benevento, but he's still a solid player at the back for Poland, considering the experience for them. And going on to Denmark, their players are Kier, Mele, Striger Larsen, Eriksson, Skov Olsen, Damsgaard, and Cornelius. Cornelius had a terrible season with Parma. Kier with Milan had an exceptional season. Eriksson winning the league with Inter. Skov Olsen, a great young talent, and even Damsgaard too. Like, there are some great talents in that Denmark team. Again, just lots to look forward to from what to expect from them. But we'll see how these Italy players go. Are there any players that you see from the list of potential players that you think can really represent their, not just these two teams, but any of the teams there? Do you think you see any players that can really showcase something at the Euros for their national side?
Oh yes, not even restricting myself from the first two, because I really think that especially coming from the Calcio, I think Poland and Croatia have the most amount of players that will be on the starting 11,
Mm-hmm.
and that actually can do something that's gonna be extremely impactful when it comes to winning games or even losing games when it comes to the defensive side of players. But you have some players that can actually deliver 3 points or not, right? You have Ronaldo, of course. You have Morata.
Hmm.
If you find Morata in a good spot, he's gonna score like one header and boom.
And it depends how often he starts as well for Spain. That's it,
Yes,
right?
yes. And you have maybe I think the top three player in the world right now, Lukaku.
He considering the form he was with, but it depends too because he there at Inter he was partnered with Martinez, so it depends how he can link up with the guys at Belgium. You know, depending with De Bruyne and all the other guys that play with him. So Mertens, you know, it depends how they all link up together. So that's the thing. Can he find the same type of partnership with the other guys on Belgium? But definitely, Big Rom can definitely do it. I feel, but we'll see.
He's so good in a point that he's kind of scary.
I just want to kind of go back to your Croatia. You said a lot of the players will be in the starting 11, and going to the numbers here with Croatia, they have 5 players from Serie A in their team, and that's Brozovic, Pasalic, Bedell, Perisic, and Rebic. So it's some strong players there. Brozovic, Perisic winning the league. Passage, great form with Atalanta. Rebic had a good year also with Milan. But Badeli not too bad with forget who was it, Fiorentina or Genoa? I don't even remember now, to be honest. But he still had a good year, and it's definitely solid. 5 out of the 6 11 players you would probably see on the field for Croatia.
And you have two feeders for them, right? You have Modric and you have, oh my gosh, I forgot the name.
Rakitic?
Rakitic, right? That if they find him in a good spot, even though Perisic and Rebic they are not CFs, they play more like a second attackers, but they know how to score.
Exactly. Yeah. If you again, like you said, if you find them in a good position, they'll definitely score for them. We have some considering some different players here for North Macedonia. 3 players actually. We have Elmas of Napoli, Nikolov from Lecce, who actually Lecce reaching the Serie B playoffs, and then Goran Pandev, which will be his last major tournament and competitive as he's retiring at the end. So let's see how Goran Pandev can lead his Macedonia side to. Let's see what type of success they
4
can lead him.
points. Nothing much more than that.
Yeah, we'll see
Let's
what he
be
can lead.
honest.
Yeah, we'll see what he can lead them to going into the tournament. And so even going to the well, even we'll go from Italy. They're at least facing some competition. We'll tell you that the players that so Turkey has 4 players. They have Ayan, Demirel, Mulder, and Çalhanoğlu. So definitely some young and experienced there. And some Demirel, a great defender for Juventus. Çalhanoğlu, if he plays well, because he's been very inconsistent with Milan, if he can play well and find his best with Turkey, he can cause an issue. Like you said, setting up Yilmaz or Yazici, it can definitely be a problem for Italy. And Ayan can definitely be a good partner at the back. So we'll see how that works out. Switzerland. Sorry, go ahead.
I feel like Çalhanoğlu sometimes it's difficult to say his name properly. He's the kind of player that okay today I want to play. Okay, so today I'm gonna crush everybody. Even if my mom plays against me, I'm gonna go over her and crucify her. I mean, you know. But sometimes he doesn't even want to play. He doesn't want to do anything. You know.
Yeah, or there's times he tries doing too much and he loses the ball and he just gives up kind of thing. So that was the struggle with Milan, and that's the thing. It's like, do you want to resign him? Do you not want to resign him? And it's like you want to be paid 6-7 mil, but if you're not producing 6-7 mil worth, it's I'll just let you go. So it depends what type of Çalhanoğlu we'll see at the tournament, right? Against Switzerland, there's 2 Serie A players in Ricardo Rodriguez and Freuler. Freuler had a really great year again with Atalanta, who Atalanta, you know, it's just incredible the way they play. Ricardo Rodriguez not the best with Torino, almost being relegated. And Wales is just one representative from Serie A in Aaron Ramsey, who's had an okay year with Juventus.
Hasn't played much, right?
And that's the thing. Again, Juventus has just been this whole, no, I wouldn't want to say a mess, but they're just in this kind of downfall, and there's a lot of retooling that has to be at the team. We'll see with Allegri coming in. That's for another discussion anyways,
Yes,
right?
for next show.
But going to the players being represented from each team now, we're not including players that were called up to the Azzurri. This is just a loan to the foreign players represented by each team. The two teams with the most, they're not tied, but Juventus, of course, being represented with 8 players being represented at the tournament. I don't know if you guys even want me to count all of them. There's the 8 players, but second, surprisingly, is Atalanta with 7. So, wow. I just want to say, like, but the thing is, Atalanta's never been, not that they haven't been keen, but they've scouted a lot of foreign players,
Exactly.
right?
If you get Atalanta start 11, you're gonna have what, 2 or 3 Italian players. That's it, and being one of them a Brazilian player, Toloi.
Yeah,
Right?
who again just switched over his nationality, like
You guys have 3 Brazilians. So if Italy wins, I'm gonna be in your
yeah, speaking of Jorginho, Emerson, and Toloi. So, but yeah, Atalanta have done their scouting department has done well, and they only rely on very few Italian players. Pessina, Toloi, if you want to consider him, and Golini with Sportiello as well as their backup. But they rely. We'll go on to their players that are listed. Let's see if I can. Mila. There's Pasalic. Oh my God, there's so many. Doroin. My God, I have so many here. Freuler. Yeah, it's Doroin, Miranchuk, Malinovsky, Gosens. That's just a few of them to name, right? They have these exceptional guys. Gosens had an exceptional year, and as the left wing back, he just scored as much as Teo Hernandez, and I think he scored about 7 goals, give or take. He's a high-scoring wing back that knows how to get it in the right position. And let's see if he can do that with Germany as well.
Oh yeah, and Germany has the situation, right, on which Fernandez from the brothers, one plays for France and the other one plays
for Germany. Yeah, no, one plays for Bayern Munich, but I think they both play for France actually. You're thinking Boateng.
Boateng, yeah.
You're thinking Boateng. Because, one plays for Ghana, one plays for
Germany.
Yes. And that's the thing, too, we're talking about Germany. But I don't think, Gosens is the only German player, actually. But there hasn't been a lot of German players coming to Serie A anyways, to begin with. But they brought in their experience, considering Joachim Low didn't take out, he didn't call a lot like Boateng, Mueller. They weren't originally in his plans, but he decided to bring him back in the tournament. So
that's ironically the difference of what we were talking about when it comes to making the squads younger and renovating them. Right? He saw that he needed some kind of
balance.
Balance. So now he has some sort of like a spine. Right? You have Neuer, you have Kimmich and Boateng, and then you have Müller in the front.
And that's the thing. And if Germany played back to how they were with those guys back in the team, they could be the issue against Italy later on in the tournament. So that's the thing. Some of these coaches know how to rework their tool after going from a previous tournament. Again, most of them keep the same core because, you deserve to be in that core anyways, right? But then it's who else manages in the last couple of seasons to impress and stay in that team for this tournament. So a lot of talent. Serie A, and it's great to see a lot of, again, 50 players at least representing Italy, well, in that sense, at Euro. So that is great to see, and we're not even talking about the amount that's going to the Copa America as well. That's a whole nother video to talk about anyways, because there's all the issues with Copa America too. But Italy's been producing, and it's good to see a lot of these players, but at the same time, you want to see more of the domestic players. But I think Serie A has always had the feel with foreigners and the great blend of domestic and foreign talent.
Yes, I think now it's getting even more and better when it comes to that, and we can see that during the last season, especially. That started happening over the last 2 seasons too, but this season especially, you had like 6, even 7 teams trying to get a UEFA Champions League qualification spot, right? On the group phase. So this shows how much of improvement there has been when it comes to quality in Calcio. Now, back in the day, not so much, but nowadays we want to watch Sassuolo play, you want to watch Atalanta play, you want to watch Lazio play. Roma. Even though Roma sometimes I feel like, oh come on, Roma, like wake up.
And you can, and I don't know, I was gonna say, you can imagine how Luca feels. Like,
So nowadays you have like a lot of teams is like Premier League or even Bundesliga, right?
mm-hmm.
You have like at least 6 to 8 teams on which you want to watch.
Exactly. And considering the journey, a lot of them, again, Atalanta making their third consecutive Champions League for their first time ever, and they've impressed. They tied Man City. They managed to beat Liverpool away. They advanced the group stages past Valencia, and almost, honestly, they probably had the first game against Real Madrid. They could have actually taken if it wasn't for that bloody red card that don't know why the ref gave it, but that they've really impressed in Europe, and they don't give enough credit. And I'm not trying to be biased, but I feel okay. Bielsa's a good coach, but they everyone's complimenting Bielsa and the Leeds. But what the hell have Leeds really achieved in the last little bit? I know they came back up, but look at Atalanta and what Gasperini has done. Like I feel they don't get as much credit as they should.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that. Like on that one, I'm gonna disagree with you because I feel like based on the things that I still watch, I watch the YouTube videos I watch from Brazil and from England
Mm-hmm.
YouTubers, or even when I'm watching stuff on normal TV on cable, no one looks at Atalanta or Leipzig as the little puppies anymore.
Mm-hmm.
When you see them, you know that you're gonna have trouble. And they might actually send you home. And it's getting there. And you can actually even see what are the countries that produce the best coaches right now? Italy and Germany.
Mm.
You have so many of them. All
There
around.
are quite a few. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Allegri, Ancelotti, and these guys are the Tuchel, and then you have them coming back and forth. Nagelsmann, which now is gonna coach Bayern Munich. So I disagree with you on that. Atalanta, I think it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when to win something big.
Yeah, and I know they actually unfortunately lost the Coppa Italia, their second final too. So that's definitely a tough one for them, but they have at least the foundation to build on. But let's see what they do, because one thing I want to mention is, again, we're talking about their foreign players, is Duvan Zapata and Luis Muriel, who are fantastic for them, but they're in their 30s and they're not getting younger. So you have to start looking what they can do for, you got to think for the future for them too, and what to expect. You know what I mean?
And that's when the scout team has to work again.
And they've done an excellent job. They just got I know Kovalenko's been injured, but he's been if he can play on as well, he was a great up and coming talent. But he didn't get that move that he needed. Malinowski, Palisilic, even some of these outcasts have come to the team and performed exceptional with them. So they're the one to look out for as well. And again, like I said, they've produced a lot of talent going into the Euros as well. Juve, we know, because Juve always wants to get the best players at their team. So they have a lot of players, of course, representing them. And some surprise inclusions. And we even want to talk about Sassuolo as well, because we even no one would have expected players to get Sassuolo. Excluding, again, the ones from the Azzurri, they have 3 other players representing them at the Euro. So that's incredible for them to have so many players, considering they've been in Serie A now for less than 10 years. So they've really built themselves to it. So it's great to see that they're being well represented.
Maybe they're the next Atalanta. Who knows?
Yeah, and they've honestly, again, we've seen them even qualify for Europa League as well. They were this close to making it to the Conference League as well, but Roma managing to get the point on the last day. But they can really keep going if they can keep a lot of their core guys. But even if they do lose them, because it's rumored with Berardi and Locatelli moving on, again, it's the scouting network. Depending how well they can, even the young talents, because Raspadori coming through the youth system, it's how well they can keep producing and going up the next level, right?
That I agree with you.
Hey, it's good. We need to bounce these ideas and see what other people think, because that's what we kind of need. So, like I said, 50 players representing Italy. It's good to see, and I would have loved to talk also about Copa America, but that's a whole nother discussion because we don't know what's going on. Because I know there's
It's a mess.
it is a mess being rescheduled from Argentina to Brazil, and I was hearing a lot of the Brazilian players aren't happy about hosting that as well.
And it was previously in Colombia, right?
Yeah,
And
the
then it
Argentina,
got moved to Argentina.
and then it's now moved to Brazil, which is
Yeah.
just
And then
that's
Chile tried to get it, and they said no, no. Yeah.
so that would be a whole nother discussion. I want to get definitely something we need to talk about, especially being South American, getting a whole more expertise on that.
I can try. I'll try my best.
We'll definitely have to set that up again. So, anyways, guys, if you enjoyed our little chat here, let us know how well you think Mancini, his expectations and the team he's bringing into it. Do you guys agree what we had to talk about? I know we had a lot to discuss too, and a lot of different opinions. So, if you guys agree with any of us, be sure to comment below. Let us know. If you guys like what you're hearing, be sure to click the like button and share your thoughts on it. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel for more Calcio content and click the bell to receive notifications on all our latest videos. We hope to hear from you guys soon. Ciao.